Good morning. My name is Michael, and thank you for joining me this morning. We are continuing in the reading of the Word of God. We left off at the end of chapter 3 in the first book of Samuel. Getting ready to have the Ark of the Covenant captured by the Philistines. Sorry about not getting a video in yesterday. I was not prioritizing my morning as efficiently as I should have and didn't have enough time to get the video going. So here we are this morning to continue it. So we were on chapter 4. Try to get through chapters 4, 5, and 6. So looks fairly doable. A lot of information in regards to the next few chapters. So we'll go over the keynotes after we finish each said chapter. There's 22 verses in chapter 4, 12 verses in chapter 5. Yeah, that's about how we'll do it. As you can hear, the little one's awake. Alright, so chapter 4, the Philistines capture the ark. And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel went out to battle against the Philistines. They encamped at Ebenezer, and the Philistines encamped at Aphek. The Philistines drew up in line against Israel, and when the battle spread, Israel was defeated before the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men on a field of battle. And when the people came to the camp, the elders of Israel said, "Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord here from Shiloh, that it may come among us and save us from the power of our enemies." So the people sent to Shiloh and brought from there the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who is enthroned on the cherubim. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. As soon as the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel gave a mighty shout, so that the earth resounded. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shouting, they said, "What does this great shouting in the camp of the Hebrews mean?" And when they learned that the ark of the Lord had come to the camp, the Philistines were afraid, for they had said, "A god has come into the camp." And they said, "Woe to us, for nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us, who can deliver us from the power of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians with every sort of plague in the wilderness. Take courage and be men of Philistines, lest you become slaves to the Hebrews as they have been to you. Be men and fight." So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and they fled, every man to his home, and there was a very great slaughter. For 30,000 foot soldiers of Israel fell, and the ark of God was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Just to stop here before resuming on to chapter 12, some keynotes here. Pitched equals camped, so they were camped out. The Philistines, or sea people, migrated from Crete and other Aegean islands to the eastern Mediterranean coast and settled on the southern coastal plain of Palestine, a region that became known as Philistia. The Philistines were powerful military people who were the greatest threat to the Israelites during the days of Samson, Samuel, Saul, and David. Ebenezer means stone of help, and Aphek, a strategic border city at the northern edge of the Philistine territory, 11 miles northeast of Joppa. From verse 4-3, as you can see here, as they were saying, "Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord here from Shiloh, that it may come among us and save us from the power of our enemies." So there you can see right there that they're not putting their faith in God, they're putting their faith in the ark of the covenant, which is not God. But the Philistines were so superstitious in this that they were placing all of their faith in this idol that God had them construct for his presence, but the people of Israel just looked at it as itself as its God, rather than worshiping the one God. From 4:4, between the cherubims, a golden cherub was on each end of the lid of the Ark of the Covenant in the tabernacle. Between their overarches wings was God's presence. From verses 7 through 8, the Philistines looked upon the ark as an idol and Israelite God. So even they had the misconception of, or as you continue to read, who are their gods, plural, From verse 12, which is where we left off, so we'll stop right there. So continuing on from verse 12, the death of Eli. A man of Benjamin ran from the battle line and came to Shiloh the same day, with his clothes torn and with dirt on his head. When he arrived, Eli was sitting on his seat by the road, watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of God. And when the man came into the city and had told the news, all the city cried out. When Eli heard the sound of the outcry, he said, "What is this uproar?" Then the man hurried and came and told Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were set to that he could not see. And the man said to Eli, "I am he who has come from the battle. I fled from the battle today." And he said, "How did it go, my son?" He who brought the news answered and said, "Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there has also been a great defeat among the people. Your 2 sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God has been captured." As soon as he mentioned the ark of God, Eli fell over backward from his seat by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. For the man was old and heavy. He had judged Israel 40 years. Now his daughter-in-law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant, about to give birth, and when she heard the news that the ark of God was captured, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed and gave birth, for her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the woman attending her said to her, "Do not be afraid, for you have borne a son." But she did not answer or pay attention, and she named the child Ichabod, saying, "The glory has departed from Israel, because the ark of God has been captured, and because of her father-in-law and her husband." And she said, "The glory has departed from Israel, for the ark of God has been captured." So that's the end of chapter 4. We're reading back in some notes. Obviously, in this one, it does say torn instead of renting. They could have rent their clothes, which is the same thing as tearing off their clothes. But their garments were actually made from, if you remember back in Exodus and Leviticus, and their descriptions of how God wanted their attire. It was all one. There wasn't seams. It was all one piece. So actually ripping these and tearing them, one was renouncing your claim as a priest, and thus would have to be replaced by another one. And 2, that these were extremely difficult to rip apart. It was not something that was done very easily, or just because. It had a significant meaning into it. Let's see. Torn clothing and the dust on the head were signs of mourning for the dead or for national calamity. From 4:16, how did things go? 4:18, Eli was more stricken by the fate of the ark than by the death of his sons. Only here is it indicated that Eli served as a judge as well as a priest. And Ichabod means no glory. The loss of the ark meant the absence of glory in Israel, which couldn't have been further from the truth. But again, because they're so set on their superstitious and idol type of ways in this generation, that they can't even tell that they don't necessarily need it. But that'll come in time. Oh my goodness, bug bites all over the place. All right, so chapter 5 continuing. This is the Philistines and the ark. So the Philistines have the ark now. They're not going to keep it for very long. When the Philistines captured the ark of God, they brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it into the house of Dagon and set it up beside Dagon, and when the people of Ashdod rose early the next day, behold, Dagon had fallen face downward on the ground before the ark of the Lord. So they took Dagon and put him back in his place. But when they rose early on the next morning, behold, Dagon had fallen face downward on the ground before the ark of the Lord. and the head of Dagon and both his hands were laying cut off on the threshold. Only the trunk of Dagon was left to him. This is why the priests of Dagon and all who enter the house of Dagon do not tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod to this day. The hand of the Lord was heavy against the people of Ashdod, and he terrified and afflicted them with tumors, both Ashdod and its territory. And when the men of Ashdod saw how things were, they said, "The ark of God of Israel must not remain with us, for his hand is hard against us and against Dagon our God." So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines and said, "What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel?" They answered, "Let the ark of the God of Israel be brought around to Gath." So they brought the ark of the God of Israel there. But after they had brought it around, the hand of the Lord was against the city, causing a very great panic, and he afflicted the men of the city, both young and old, so that rumors broke out on them. You want to try too? Daddy's reading. Yeah, it's okay. Do you see yourself? You right there? Yeah, you silly girl. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, say hi. Say hi, Mama.
Hi, Mama. Hi, Mama.
Let's see here. Verse 10. Okay. So they sent the ark of God to Ekron, but as soon as the ark of God came to Ekron, the people of Ekron cried out, They have brought around to us the ark of the God of Israel to kill us and our people." See, they sent therefore and gathered together all the lords of Philistines and said, "Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it return to its own place, that it may not kill us and our people." For there was a deathly panic throughout the whole city. The hand of God was very heavy there. The men who did not die were struck with tumors, and the cry of the city went up to heaven. So that is going to be the end of chapter 5. So a little recap. Ashdod was located on the Mediterranean coast about 33 miles west of Jerusalem. Was one of the 5 major Philistine cities. From verse 5-2, Dagon was a Philistine vegetation god. In ancient literature, Baal is sometimes referred to as the son of Dagon. The idol fell before the ark twice. The second time it was destroyed as divine judgment on the Philistine deity. Now, just as a side note, you're thinking here, if you're the Philistines worshiping a god, and you bring in something from another country or another culture group, and you understand that this is the Ark of the Covenant of the God of the people of Israel, and you see these things happen in your presence, how would you not turn around and acknowledge that God is greater than your idol? It baffles me, but that's just what comes to my thought process when they see it and want to get rid of it. They still want to, it's just weird. Let's see here from verse 5-6. To swell, meaning tumors or boils. Perhaps the sores were the symptoms of a bubonic plague, for mice ravaged the land. Gath, another of the 5 Philistine cities, was 12 miles east of Ashdod. Emerods, Ekron, another of the 5 Philistine cities, 6 miles north of Gath. Let's see here, from 5:12, one lesson from the experience of the Philistines with the ark seems clear. No matter how sacred, that which is acquired by improper means can never bring blessing to the possessor. Oh my goodness, my legs are itching all over. Oh, sorry. All right, chapter 6. What time is it? 42. Okay. So, chapter 6, the ark returned to Israel. The ark of the Lord was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners and said, "What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us with what we shall send it Tell us with what we shall send it to its place. They said, if you send away the ark of the God of Israel, do not send it empty, but by all means return him a guilt offering. Then you will be healed, and it will be known to you why his hand does not turn away from you. And they said, what is the guilt offering that we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the Lord of the Philistines. For the same plague was on all of you and on your lords. So you must make images of your tumors and images of your mice that ravage the land, and give glory to the God of Israel. Perhaps he will lighten his hand from off you and your God and your land. Why should you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts? After he had dealt severely with them, did they not send the people away, and they departed? Now then, take and prepare a new cart and 2 milk cows on which they have never became to yoke, and yoke the cows to the cart. But take their calves home, away from them, and take the ark of the Lord and place it on the cart, and put it in a box at its side, the figures of the gold, which you are returning to him as a guilt offering. Then send it off and let it go its way, and watch. If it goes up on the way to its own land, to Beth Shemesh, then it is he who has done us this great harm. But if not, then we shall know that it is not his hand that struck it. It happened to us by coincidence. So the men did so, and took the 2 milk cows and yoked them to the cart and shut up their calves at home. And they put the ark of the Lord on the cart and box with the golden mice and the images of their tumors. And the cows went straight in the direction of Beth Shemesh, along one highway, lowing as they went. They turned neither to the right nor to the left, and the lords of the Philistines went after them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh. Now the people of Beth Shemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley. And when they lifted up their eyes and saw the ark, they rejoiced to see it. The cart came into the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh and stopped there. A great stone was there, and they split up the wood of the cart and offered the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. And the Levites took down the ark of the Lord and the box that was beside it, in which were the golden figures, and set them upon the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrificed sacrifices on that day to the Lord. And when the 5 lords of the Philistines saw it, they returned that day to Ekron. These are the golden tumors that the Philistines returned as a guilt offering to the Lord. 1 for Ashdod, 1 for Gaza, 1 for Ashkelon, 1 for Gath, and 1 for Ekron. And the golden mice, according to the number of all the city of the Philistines, belonging to the 5 lords, both fortified cities and unwalled villages. The great stone beside that with which they set down the ark of the Lord is a witness to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. And he struck some of the men of Beth Shemesh because they looked upon the ark of the Lord. He struck 70 men of them, and the people mourned because the Lord had struck the people with a great blow. Then the men of Beth Shemesh said, who is able to stand before the Lord, this holy God? And to whom shall he go up away from us? So they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath Jearim, saying, the Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to you. Oh, wow. That's immediately right there. It's just going to cut off. Okay, so that is actually the end of chapter 6. Kind of breaks down in the middle and resumes into chapter 7 for the next 17 verses. So we will work on that portion tomorrow. Baby girl, you can't mess with Daddy's scooter. Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann. Get away from Daddy's scooter. They fall on you, you get hurt. A little bit of background or look at the keynotes from verses 4 to 5 in chapter 6. The Philistine priests and diviners suggested that an offering of golden images of the mice and sores would appease the God of Israel and bring an end to the severe judgment. Let's see, from verse 7. They wanted milk cows that were still nursing their young. And I think this is in regards to Oh, yep. 6:9 was going to give us a better explanation than I probably would have done. The cows going away from their calves would be a clear indication that they were being led by a supernatural power and would signify to the Philistines that the plague had indeed been the judgment of God. From verse 12, Beth Shemesh was a Levitical city of the Israelites in Sorek Valley, 8 miles east of Ekron, or 15 miles west of Jerusalem. They were in the wheat harvest, so the time frame was going to be towards the end of May, towards the beginning of June. From verse 17, Ashkelon is located on the Mediterranean coast, about 9.5 miles south of Ashdod. Gaza is also on the coast, 12 miles south of Ascalon. There is no indication that the ark was in Ascalon or Gaza, but they came under the plague that fell on all the Philistines. From verse 19, the men of Beth Shemesh were guilty of the presumptuous sin of gazing into the ark, apparently a violation of Numbers. And you can reference that from verses chapter 4 to verse 20. The number 50,070 is doubted by conservative scholars and is probably a copyist's error, the number in the LXX in writings of Josephus. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, and so Charlotte for Archangel Identity. The city was destroyed about 1050. Yeah, so that is the end of our reading and all of our side notes here. I hope you had a great morning and enjoying the reading here. We will continue tomorrow in chapters 7, 8, and 9 as we push our way through the book of Samuel. A little over 20 chapters to go, 23, 24 chapters to go. So again, thank you. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.